Hello folks, I thought I'd do a quick video in response to the news that the China Guitar Sceptic has decided to pull out of all dealings with cheap knockoff Chinese guitars. If you don't know the China Guitar Sceptic, it's a great channel, a lot of fun to watch the developments over the last couple of years. And he's a top bloke, really interesting and committed guy, very classy guy, doesn't overly rant or swear on his channel, seems very patient and straightforward in his dealings with people, seems like a stand-up bloke. And he's probably one of 4 or 5 YouTube channels that sort of encouraged me to start doing this in the realm of musical instruments, particularly string instruments. Firstly, I think we have to be careful. A lot of his verbiage on that video is about pulling out of China, giving up on China, ultimately being disgusted with China to the point of no longer doing business with Chinese instruments. I think we need to make the distinction that what he means is not really China. China's not the bad guy here. China is responsible for a lot of counterfeit and knockoff productions, that's true. It's also responsible for a lot of really poor manufacturing, whether that be copycat manufacturing or just the cheaper echelon of instruments. My first instrument was a Skylark ukulele, which I still have, which was a rather abysmally made instrument, although I have since refinished it and hung it on the wall. So yeah, they are responsible for a lot of the lower end greenwood problematic instruments that come through channels like eBay, DHgate and Alibaba, AliExpress, that sort of thing. But I think what we need to understand is China is also responsible for great guitars like Eastman. A lot of the new guilds are made in China. Some of the higher Epiphones, some Gibsons, companies like The Law who make great guitars. Some Washburns, I believe. Just a whole host of really good mid-range to even upper-range instruments come out of that country. So I think we have to be careful with our verbiage, not to make the geographical region synonymous with crap, because it's not quite fair. I think if you know the history of the China Guitar Sceptic and his channel, what he's railing against is really a contingent of Chinese sellers and manufacturers that mostly do their business through places like AliExpress, Alibaba, DHgate. There's probably a few more that I don't even know about, and some of that filters into eBay with Chinese sellers. And mainly counterfeit, the fake Gibsons known as Chibsons, the Martin guitar knockoffs, Taylor knockoffs, all the Fender knockoffs. After doing on our behalf, buying these guitars on our behalf and reviewing them, he's decided to stop doing it after having a guitar seized by UK Customs. Or Border Force, I think they call it over there, and which is understandable. 6 guitars in, a lot of disappointments, a lot of poor, shoddy workmanship, and trying to dissuade people from buying these illegal counterfeit guitars. I don't deal in that business. I've had one run in with AliExpress, and that was to order a nice 12-string that's handmade. I'm not really interested in the whole fake Gibson, fake Fender thing. It just doesn't do anything for me. I think the world of instruments is exciting. All of the up-and-coming manufacturers, many of which are Chinese, some of which are Indonesian, Malaysian, Japanese, Singaporean, and even now you're starting to see instruments coming out of India. I think there's a lot of really interesting alternatives to the big brands, as you can tell from this channel and what it's about. I find stuff that's sort of, you know, not well known, that I think is a reasonably made instrument offered at a competitive price. I think there is some of that available through the channels that do the counterfeit guitars, but you have to be very, very careful. I often scan the AliExpress ads or pages, and it seems like there are more and more, definitely in the acoustic guitar and classical guitar realm, there are more and more makers over there, manufacturers that sell through those channels, trying to do their own thing. And you know, the China Guitar Sceptic pointed out the example of Bandcamp guitars, an electric guitar maker that has subsisted for a while on doing counterfeits, who through the urging of people like China Guitar Sceptic is now decided to do their own instrument with their own name and getting away from counterfeit, even though it's still very much Gibson-esque in style, but there again, so a lot of other manufacturers all over the world. So I think there are examples in the electric realm, and definitely in the acoustic realm. In my conversations with makers, putting a Martin insignia or a Taylor insignia on a guitar is starting to come up less often. I sense there might be a bit of a change in that area. Maybe you can tell me differently. I hope so. I think there will always be people trying to order those fake Gibson and Martin guitars. I don't know why. I think the channel that the China Guitar Sceptic has put together has, I think, demonstrated that it's not worth it. I mean, if you want a Les Paul style guitar, or you want a Martin D28 style guitar, or you want a Telecaster 53 style guitar, there are plenty of options that are perfectly legal. Go to Rondo, go buy Agile, go buy SX guitars, you know, go to Monoprice. They're coming out with a brand new range of Fender style guitars that look really, really good. I forget the name of them right now, but they're coming out soon. You know, there are lots of Gibson style guitar alternatives, starting with Epiphone, of course, but others as well. There's a lot of Fender, probably more than anything, style guitars on offer from perfectly reputable sellers, and a lot of up-and-coming, unknown but legal alternatives as well. But yeah, I don't think it's fair to pin it all on a country, China. I think you know, their rules and trading infrastructure sort of allows for that sort of activity. You get a lot of counterfeiting in the cell phone and other electronic fields. But I think it also goes on in other countries. I don't think it's simple enough to pinpoint a geographical country or region. You know, I just think there are these entities, they exist. You really don't have a need to buy from them. From what we've seen from the examples from people online, a lot of these counterfeits are very poorly made. They are not very accurate. Some of them are, and some of them are reasonable, but you know, you're still paying some of the prices for these things, $400. You might as well just go get a decent Core Earth guitar, or a, you know, a nice Crafter guitar. They make Martin style guitars in that price range. There's no reason to go and sort of gamble your money on some dodgy seller on AliExpress, you know, in these shady dealings. There's lots of things on offer. You can still get a damn good, you know, a Washburn guitar in that price range. very, very reliable. I've had various examples of acoustic guitars in the 300 range that are very good bang for the buck. I just don't think there's a need to go and buy some counterfeit for $200, $300, $400, even $500. There's absolutely no point. And I hope it goes away, but I suspect that it will linger on and people will keep doing it. But be aware that we're talking about a certain contingent of sellers and manufacturers that do this. It's not a whole country or a whole region. There's plenty of good instruments coming out of China and the rest of Asia. So anyway, that's my take on it. I hope it's somewhat interesting, and I'll be back with more instrument videos shortly.